So you come here because you have a problem with an tnc3 series and the communication between it and the computer. So before we start checking this machine, we want to start by checking the cable and the dongle that you're using. You want to do a loopback test on the cable itself. There is an schematic in the Google that you can use to diagnose those, because you want to make sure that you are using a correct cable and a functioning dongle on your machine. If those check out, then the problem is in the control unit itself. And that there are two chips. There are rs232A, and they are looking like this. So these two chips are what I'm talking about. They are originally going to be an SP232A chips. You cannot get those chips anymore, and you will need to replace these with a Max 232A chip. And you need to make sure it has that A behind it, because it will not work if it doesn't have that A behind it. And that's for sure. The Max 232A is really similar to the SP232A, and they have only few farads of difference in the output and this side of the circuit. So now, before you start changing these chips, you want to mark every connector that there is, so you get those back on the right spot once everything is put back together. Then you will need to back up your parameters and your PLC if it's not in your EEPROM. On this unit you can drive it to the EEPROM, and there is documentation of that in the Heidenhain library, and you want to use that if it's not. If you want to check that your machine is in the EEPROM, so then you will, on the tnc360, that will be the MP4010 parameter, and that's going to be 0. If it's 0, you're good to go. But make sure that you back up every program that you don't want to lose, and every tool you don't want to lose, and parameters if you don't want to lose those. Then you're good to go. Then you will start by removing this cable and then these cables. I would recommend that this is the first one when doing this. So once those has been removed, you can unscrew a few screws and this whole unit slides out. So these two over here, they will not come completely out, they will just be there, but you need to loosen those up. Then there are two screws over here and behind this connector right there. Once those have been taken off, you can go back to these three screws. You don't need to remove these completely, just open them for like 2 turns so you can slide it back in and slide it out easily. Now, once this is on the table, you want to make sure that you have an ESD grounding. The Heidenhain documentation says that you need to ground it from this bracket to you and a common known ground, so you don't mess up the board. And I would really recommend doing this and not do it like I made it on a cardboard box, because I really didn't have the space on So once you're changing these chips, you might want to install a socket to the motherboard, and because you're going to likely burn these chips if you're not good at soldering. When you're only soldering the socket, there is no chance of you breaking really the jet chips. Only if you mess up the installation on these motherfucking sockets. But other than that, this is a really straightforward operation. You just put it back together where you took it apart. I would recommend that you take a lot of pictures and all sorts of things. But for now, this works for me. I just tested it and it will work like it used to do. And I got the parameters, these, from here, so I can back them up. And next thing I will do is back up the PLC. So for the next time, thanks for watching, and let's get back to machining.